Warning. This video contains spoilers for DC Universe's Doom Patrol. Viewer discretion is advised. DC Universe is out and I paid for a year of it. This is DC Discussion. Readers, the Doom Patrol episode of Doom Patrol. Yes, I know, me too. Is so good. Not like I wasn't expecting it to be good, mind you, but wondering where it could go after the D-Creator arc was pretty much me for a week. And while it didn't necessarily advance the plot of the overall season, I'm definitely happy that it used the plot of the episode to give us the next best thing: character development. You're probably extremely tired of hearing those words come out of my mouth. I mean, yes, the show's been pretty good as far as properly distributing it to us thus far, but I'm glad that these latest episodes have been properly rotating the focus on which characters get it so that everybody has their time to shine. Colt Patrol and Paw Patrol were very good turning points for the wheel, but that bitch really started spinning with Doom Patrol. Let's begin. Now, to give you an idea on which member is going to be the main focus of this episode, we start off with a flashback to Rita about a year or so after her accident. She's off trying to get a lead role in an upcoming picture from a bigwig producer, but because this is the 50s and because she's a woman, he'll only entertain the possibility if she decides to play patty cake with him. And that was a Who Framed Roger Rabbit reference, for all you youngins out there. But because she's still fresh from her accident, Rita doesn't know how to properly keep her emotions in check and accidentally, yet rightfully, shows the producer that misogyny is a hell of a drug. Luckily, the scumbag secretary proves to us that she's a ride or die for the Me Too movement.
The bastard had a heart attack. You were never here. Get it?
Back in the current timeline, we get an idea on what everybody's doing. Cliff found his daughter's social media profile and asked Cyborg to help him hack in it to see what she's been up to. And instead of doing that, he helps Jane do some research regarding the original Doom Patrol, which was something that Mr. Nobody asked her to do after the lot of them handled the Cult of the Unwritten Book crisis. Once they find their previous headquarters, and after Rita reveals that she and a member of the team named Mento were lovers once upon a time, the altar of Jane that can teleport takes herself, Rita, and Larry to the location. When they get there, however, they find out that it's now a school and that the headmaster was actually expecting her. Turns out, Niles actually formed the Doom Patrol with Mento and the other two superheroes once upon a time, and was behind turning it into a school for metahumans. So the fact that Rita and Mento had a past isn't necessarily out of left field, especially since it didn't start off as a romance. We find that out because when Rita first arrived at Doom Manor seeking Niles' help, Mento was actually part of her therapy to gain control of her abilities. You see, Mento is a psychic who wears a reverse Magneto helmet to help enhance his powers outside of reading minds. Once Niles realized that there was a mental block in Rita's way of keeping her shape, he assigned Mento as her psychological therapist. You know that mantra she was saying to herself in the bathroom of episode 3? Her therapy with Mento was actually how she learned it. Which only really tells me that slowly but surely we're going to get answers to a lot of the questions previous episodes set in our heads, and that's never a bad thing. Meanwhile, back in Doom Manor, Silas arrives to reboot Victor after Mr. Nobody blasted his arm off in the last episode and Cliff reset him to grow it back so that he can be at 100% efficiency again. But rightfully so, Victor doesn't trust his dad to reboot him without doing something shifty, so he asks Cliff to keep an eye out while he's offline to make sure Silas doesn't do anything suspect. He agrees, if Vic hacks into his daughter's social media and gives him access. The exchange went just how you think it went. Back at the school, while Jane and Larry are getting more info on Niles and what the retirees know about Mr. Nobody, Rita is united with Oh, come the fuck on! Does Niles just keep some immortality jupes in the basement in a barrel or some shit? Why is everybody still looking like they were back in the 50s and 60s? Like, yes, Rita and Larry make sense. Rita's condition allows her to keep her shape and appearance the same as she was in the past, and Negative Man's cosmic essence, I assume, is pretty much what keeps his body alive. But then there's the Chief. Thanks to the last episode, it's now Jane, and now it's Mento? How is everybody a fucking Highlander? Anyway, Rita and Mento reconnect, and their interaction shows that they didn't necessarily break up on good terms. Oh, also this happens. Then it happened again.
What was that?
Then, after we find out that the OG Doom Patrol actually fought Mr. Nobody in the past with Niles leading the way, we find out that this entire thing is a simulation. A simulation made by an age-appropriate Mento, who after breaking the illusion proceeds to force the three and the administrator to endure their worst fears because that's what Mr. Nobody did to them. Which is some petty-ass shit, by the way. But because Larry's cosmic ghost is just fucking awesome, it's able to get Mento's helmet off and the nightmare stop, giving the administrator time to explain that when they did fight Mr. Nobody, they lost. And they've been slowly deteriorating and going crazy ever since. Mento's projection of themselves and the school is how they stay grounded, and the administrator, who is also a metahuman, afraid to use his powers though, is actually there to take care of them. Turns out, Mr. Nobody wanted Jane to find the original Doom Patrol to show her what he did to the previous team as a way of showing her what he'd do to them if they kept trying to pursue him. And while this story was a very well put together way of delivering that info, I'd still say that the character that developed most of all here was Rita. After reliving a moment of her own past that just completely got us asking more questions, she came face to face with her own sense of identity after experiencing the lie Mento has to tell himself in order to stay sane. Realizing that she has to break this cycle in order for her to properly progress, combined with her role in the events of the past 2 episodes, this is such a huge and important leap for her. And speaking of leaps, the B-plot with Vic, Cliff, and Silas has a satisfying ending as well. First and foremost because Cliff isn't being a dick to Cyborg for once. And secondly, because Cliff checks Silas on him being a shitty parent by using his own moments of self-reflection to show Silas that he's being a shitty parent. So when Vic wakes up from his reboot, he finds out that Silas properly switched on his privacy mode and promises to no longer interfere with his crusade to rescue Niles. As a thank you for what he did, Cyborg gives Cliff access to his daughter's social media account as a friend request she didn't know she accepted. Whew, that's gonna be a fun episode. Readers, with Jane's involvement and the deeper dive into Rita's development, this episode of Doom Patrol was awesome. Which, at this point in the game, really shouldn't surprise me, because all of them so far, for the most part, have been awesome. I guess what makes this one stand out to me most of all is that with the episodes we've seen so far, I can see how they all do a proper rotation in which character should be the focus and which one should have a lesser role, yet still use said lesser role to build up the anticipation regarding their arcs and development. And with 9 episodes left in the season, hopefully it gets better from here. God, I hope I just didn't jinx myself. So with that being said, readers, your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comments section below what you thought of episode 6 of Doom Patrol if you've seen it. If you want to help financially support the channel, you can join my Patreon by clicking the card at the end of the video or in the link in the description down below, where you can also find a link to my merchandise store. Or if you prefer to give a one-time donation, you can find links to my PayPal and my Ko-fi account in the description box as well. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.